Hey, welcome back to another episode of Garage to Greatness. I'm Thomas Pena, one of your hosts, and our co-host here is Alex Zeeb. Hey, so on this week's episode, we're going to dive deep into the sacrifices it takes as an entrepreneur and a startup business owner to be successful in 2024.
Absolutely, man, Thomas. I think that's a great topic for us to talk about today because really we all have to start somewhere. Our businesses have to start at that square one, and at square one comes with a ton of sacrifice, And so really I just want to dive in deep to our own personal sacrifices today. So why don't you tell us a little bit about some of the sacrifices you've made along the way to your journey of success in building our business and stuff?
So I guess the first thing that I want people to know before we really start talking about sacrifices is coming to the realization that there's no one who's going to wake you up in the morning. There's no one who's going to go motivate you. There's no one coming to help you. It's up to you. It's got to be me to make things happen, to take it and do it. And I think that is a mentality that I didn't realize in the very beginning. That, you know what? That as my dad used to say, he said, son, there's going to be two arms in this world that's always going to be willing to help you. I said, really? He said, yeah. He said, they're the ones at the end of your arm, Yeah. But he was right,
Absolutely. And really, I mean, it does take a lot of self-motivation. There is no one there to say, man, Thomas, you have to get up and go do this. It's on you. You really have to, work with your own time management. You really have to focus on yourself, get yourself out of bed in the morning, motivate yourself, give yourself that little pep talk in the morning. So I think you're definitely hitting the nail on the head with that one there, Thomas.
I don't think it's so much about motivation because motivation comes and it goes. Yeah. Motivation isn't what's going to get you to the finish line.
That's true.
It is action and discipline. And how do you get discipline? Through action. Yep. Changing your morning routines, getting up and doing those things. The sacrifice is that, you know what, man, I really thought by starting my own business, I was tired of, I was in the automotive field, and I worked probably 60 to 70 hours a week. And I was like, man, I am sick of that. I'm done working those hours.
Now, let me ask you, how many hours a week do you work now?
60 to 70 a week.
Oh, here we
maybe
go.
Even more. Yeah. But you know that.
It doesn't change when you own a business. I think I work more hours being an entrepreneur than I ever did having a job. I think the only other place I've ever worked more hours was in the military.
Because we work 24/7.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But now, going from regular jobs to owning your own business, man, I work more owning my own businesses than I do at any other day job. And it's mind blowing. I don't think people understand how that really works, And you don't necessarily have to get there, but to build your business, man, it takes a lot of time to get where you want to be at, And once you get there, then maybe you can kind of step back a little bit,
Absolutely.
But starting up that business and really building it, man, that takes time. Time. Serious quality time. And it's just mind-blowing. I don't think people understand that.
No, and I think, we talk about the sacrifices. I can't sit back and, man, how many family functions, man, I have missed to get where I am. And really, we're just at the tip,
Yeah.
We didn't really,
Yep.
We're still in the garage.
Yep.
We're not to the greatness yet. But how many functions and, football games, band concerts that I have missed, date nights with the wife, and listen, I have 6 kids, and most of them are, from 7 to 21. So a few of them are older and things. But man, like you got little William.
Yeah, 1-year-old son I've got. And matter of fact, here back from November until December, almost 2 months, I went without seeing him. But really, honestly, one of the biggest things I've learned is time management. And time management is super important when owning a business. Because I went 2 months without seeing my 1-year-old son. But I'll tell you what, I had video chat. they have FaceTime now, it's like, man, every night I stopped and I made sure I made time for my family, and I video chatted them, did all that. So when I got back from my business venture, then, man, my son was super excited to see me, and we were good, and we've been able to, come back together as a family smoothly, but really, it takes discipline to learn how to do that kind of stuff. You can't just abandon your family for 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 months. You have to learn to be able to juggle business, family, friendships, personal relationships. I mean, it's a lot of work, but it's definitely possible. It's definitely doable. And I'll tell you what, if I can do it and you can do it,
then you can do it. Absolutely.
I mean, it's hard, but it's easy at the same time. If you really have that discipline and you can really focus on it,
And, you brought something up, and I think we have both said it, is we're not educated, okay? And really, if we can do these things, then surely I know you can. And so you talked about time management, and really, I think time management, we use that word in a lot of different ways, but there's really no time management. You can't manage time. Time moves whether we want it to or not. It's not like we can pencil time in and say, hey, this is it. But that's where the discipline and prioritizing your activities of what you do. And I think that comes with just time and effort. And so I'm sitting back, and we have little notes, right here. Alex has done a fantastic job. But one of the notes on here is mentality. And I can tell you this, that starting a business, being an entrepreneur, has definitely helped build me a strong mentality, because you can start off weak-minded or things like that, and if you want to move and scale, then hopefully you keep moving up levels and your mentality skill gets better and tougher. You got to be tough to do this. This is not for the faint of heart.
And you really have to kind of speak things into existence, and as we start a business, right, say we have a high ticket item, maybe $10,000. If you sit there and go, man, no one's going to pay for this $10,000 item, what do you think is going to happen?
Nobody's going to pay for it.
No one's going to pay for it, But if I go, man, I've got a $10,000 product and somebody is going to buy this $10,000 product, what's going to happen? You're going to speak it into existence. And that's all right here in your head. It's all the mentality, and people don't get that. And we really got to push that mentality. You hear professionals in time management and personality traits and helping you here and there, and that's all phenomenal. But really, it all boils down to what you have inside of you. How can you have that discipline, have that time management, and get yourself up out of bed and get going every day? Because it all just kind of blends together in one big mesh. What I'm saying?
It does, but there are things that you can set in place to do those. And there's books on it that will help you with that. Man, you could reach out to us anytime, and I think we would always, we'll probably be more willing to help than more help than what you'd want. But it's incredible that the things that you really realize that, once again, there's a saying that if you think you can or if you think you can't, yes, it's true. But I'm just going to tell you, I don't believe that. Whether you think you can or whether you think you can't, you can. It's just, will you? That's the question.
Absolutely. And I think one of the biggest things I want to talk about here too is just a little bit of our personal experience and kind of where all this fits in, being away from family, sacrifice, time management. I really got my first taste of this when I was 19 years old, and I got tossed out into the Syrian desert for 6 months, and there was no internet, there was no phones, there was me and 22 other guys. And that was it, man. I had an M4 rifle, and I very rarely got to speak to my wife. I didn't have any kids at the time, but I didn't get to speak to my wife. I didn't get to hang out with my friends or my family. It was like my life just stopped. But what that really taught me was to go back to the basics. You know, I didn't have a cell phone in my hand or a computer on my desk to, you know, distract me and all that. Man, it really got me into those basics, man. I planned my day out from the time I woke up to the time I went to sleep, all on pen and paper. And I'll tell you what, man, taking it back to the basics like that, I still do that sometimes to this day. You know, when I get too distracted or my brain's too overloaded, I get out my old pen, I get out my old paper, and man, I turn that cell phone off, I take my smartwatch off, I turn my computer off, I'll even turn the coffee maker off, you know, and I'll get out there, I'll write down pen and paper. And that's where I start at, is going back to the basics on that. And because my time in Syria really taught me that going back to the basics really helps you out. Because if you have a good base, then you can build on it. You don't build your house on sand. You know, you build on a strong foundation, right?
Absolutely. And it's really, I love what you said about going back to the basics, you know, because the basics is what really got us where we are. And one of the other things that is helping us to scale and to be more productive and to be able to help more people is focusing on the crap that we just don't want to do.
Absolutely.
That's boring and mundane and it's no fun and there's no glory in it that you can see right in front of you. But it's those small things like, you know, picking up the phone when we don't want to pick up the phone. It's going to see that client when, man, we don't feel like it. You know, we'd much rather be at the ball game with the kid or something like that. Man, it's the sacrifice that you push yourself to do. Because if we sacrifice now, later, we won't have to.
Absolutely. You know, I think that's a perfect tip of the week right there, too. If we sacrifice now, we won't have to later.
Absolutely.
That's powerful. I mean, that is absolutely powerful. So, you know, really, I think it's time to wrap this up here.
Absolutely.
And so we want to talk about next week. We are hoping to have our first guest on the podcast.
Absolutely.
So we are going to announce who it is later on, and we are going to bring them on. It's going to be a fantastic time. But other than that, that's all.
It's that one person?
What's that?
It's that one person.
It's that one person.
Yeah. You know what? You could be that one person.
Maybe you are that one person. But no, we appreciate it, guys. Make sure you guys share our podcast, get it out to everybody, and we will see you guys next week.